Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are the Crypt Choir. I am Lewis. This here is my co-host, Dylan. Handles here, Wizardly Dill and the Aesthetic DM. So this is the first episode of Crypt Choir, and we're gonna talk about mainly our introduction to cEDH, our journey, Dylan's first tournament, and where we go from here. So let's start off right away. We'll start with you, Dylan. When did you start playing cEDH?
Oh, geez. So, let me think. About 2 years ago, I started playing back in Ikoria. I think that was about 3 years ago, like in the middle of COVID. My original first experience with Magic was back in old original Innistrad block days. It was super fun. I loved the crap out of it, and I just got a little older, and I was like, I'm going to spend my time doing other things. Although I did miss it all the time, and would talk about it with my friend Boone as much as I possibly could. So time went by, and COVID happened, and I had a bunch of time, and my friend Boone came over and was like, hey, do you want to play some Commander? And he sucked me right back into it. Fast forward about a year later, I have a gift exchange with some people that are in my band, Zoo Pigeons. You can check it out on Spotify if you'd like. I'm not trying to filter or plug anything right now, but so we were at Christmas, and I got my band members precons, and so we started playing. I totally stomped them. I was playing Calamax, and they were just playing precons straight out of the deck. But I hadn't really learned about cEDH yet, and my friend Ethan immediately just took off with it and went to cEDH about a few months after that, and I was dragging my heels in the dirt, didn't want to make the change. And one night we go to our friend Francisco's house, and the rest is history. Yeah, I was playing a bunch of cEDH decks that year. What's the set? Trying to think of the set name. God, what's an offer you can't refuse from?
Capenna.
So Capenna comes out, and for my birthday, because I had just been gushing over Rafine, my friend Ethan and his brother Caleb built me the Rafine cEDH deck that was being talked about at the time. And yeah, so I guess that would be where I got into it really heavy.
Nice. That's pretty good. I also got into cEDH just slightly before you did. I learned about Magic back in Lorwyn, but I didn't have any money to actually get into it. So I just knew about Magic and had these free little packs of decks you get. It's 40 cards, and just to learn the game or whatever. And I had that. And then years go by, and new Phyrexia comes out, and that's when I finally get into, Scars of Mirrodin. Scars of Mirrodin block is when I start to actually get into Magic, start playing it, really learn it, and already I'm in love with Phyrexia. I want to be perfect. I want to be complete. The whole aesthetic of it was fantastic. I mean, look at our background. I love it, and same thing for you. You're all into it too. So that's me getting into it, and then I'd start playing kind of competitively in Innistrad, and I started going to FNM, doing the standard, going to it, building competitive decks, and doing all that. And then slowly, I think around Magic Origins is when Magic loses me. Another $40 chase in the format that you have to buy a 4 of to be competitive just was not it. Especially someone that was super broke, and there was no more Magic. So I stopped. After a while, there's EDH is kind of picking up, but it wasn't official yet, so it was just EDH. So I started getting into it with friends and having a good time with it. I was oh, this is really good. I have a lot of janky cards, play a lot of cards you normally wouldn't be able to in standard and other formats. So I'm oh, this is fantastic. So played that for the rest of Magic, honestly. Since then, that's all I've ever played, really. And then cEDH starts becoming a thing, and Brian, he our friend we call him B Sphere from Standard Days. From he played Blue Eye Control and Theros with the Tainment Sphere, and that we call him B Sphere from that. But he's like, hey, you played competitive. There's cEDH, it's competitive commander. I'm like, okay, well that sounds kind of whack, but sure. This doesn't feel like it's supposed to be a competitive format, but I like being competitive and I like this format of commander, so I'll try it out. Looking at gameplay, and I was like, damn, I like this. This is pretty great. So first commander we look at, because still during that time proxies still weren't really a thing. People weren't really on board with it, but so there was a budget cEDH deck database. I don't know if it's made by the same people that run the current cEDH database, but there was a budget version of it. So the deck I saw right away was Mono White Heliod. He was on the budget list, and I'm looking through it, and I'm like, oh, I have just about all of these cards. So I bought it, and there's a few cards that are expensive that I didn't have, but most of that deck I had and I built, and that's what I played. And as we go into more cEDH and it gets more serious, people are transitioning to like better decks. Blue, what was it? TNT, Tymna, Thrasios becomes like the meta, and we're all playing cEDH, but we're definitely not playing meta decks. And I'm doing really well locally on Mono White. Like starting out I was like really bad because we were all really bad at cEDH, but I started doing really well locally on Mono White, and I didn't want to get off of it. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just take this to tournaments when they started popping up, and it's terrible. I did really bad. I'll flash it up on the screen to show like my results on it, my Eminence or top deck profile, showing my lifetime on it, and it's not good. It's not a tournament deck. It's really bad. I take some games here and there, but it's not good. So after that, losing a lot, trying out different like stacks decks and different kind of fringe decks locally, decided, you know what, I should probably stop messing around and be a little bit more serious. And with at the time, Mox Masters and their Invitational, rest in peace, I was like, I gotta play a better deck, something serious. So I switched over to Blue Farm. I know, cringe farm, and it's also what I named the deck. And I started doing instantly really well on it. I had a top 4, 2 top 16s. Locally, I'm dominating, so I'm like, okay, well, I should have done this a long time ago, but whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and that's where I'm at with cEDH, and I'm currently on Blue Farm, and that's where I'm at. I don't know if I'm gonna switch. It feels too powerful.
It is a very good deck, and there is something to be said about like playing the fringe decks that you would like to play. And honestly, like, if you know how to pilot those decks well enough, if you are a comedian or a wounded satellite or a freedom waffle out there, by all means play your fringe. But even as a newer player to this format, and I just had my first start of it, like, you don't show up to an A1 formula race with a Pinto. Would it be awesome if you could? Yes. It would be great if you could show up in a Pinto or DeLorean and just kick everyone's ass. Unfortunately, like, that requires a level of skill that is just beyond my grasp at this moment.
Yeah, the same thing, I guess, because I don't know, it's really weird. I guess it's just some decks just can't do it, and if the stars align, you can get there. I got a top 16 with Mono White, but it was like, oh my god, barely there. I was like the 16th spot. So, like, there's another Mono White player who's really good, Levine, and he took it like to top 4, and there was one big tournament out in the Midwest and went like basically undefeated. How he achieved that with Mono White is insane to me. I'm obviously just nowhere near as good as him. And I've been playing it he's been playing it slightly longer than me, but I've been playing it since like right before the set before Ikoria, I think. And just getting the 16th spot in a tournament I had to fight with everything I could. Like, it was tough. So yeah, but these other top tier players just make it look easy.
They do make it look easy. Like I was saying earlier, I got the Rafine deck, and I played the Rafine for a while. I don't think I won a single game, even in my friends group, for like a solid 3 or 4 months with that deck. And then I decided, well, like, for the time being, I had a Prosper deck that they had gotten me for Christmas, I think.
Mhm.
Or yeah. So I was like, I'm just gonna play Prosper for a while and do Rakdos things, and I managed to pull off a couple wins with that deck. Boone, my friend Boone, ended up building the same deck and like putting in Doomsday and instantly doing better than me because he had been playing Timna Thrasios for years, like even before
Ooh.
I started playing cEDH. That was his like, I'm gonna curb stomp you deck, and I didn't realize that it was like the cEDH deck. I went through a couple other janky builds. I kept just building jank and C, trying to see what worked. I think I tried Joda the Unifier for a hot minute, and which is a cool deck, and maybe I could revisit it. Like maybe it's possible now, and kind of like a Joyra is good kind of way. Also a skill issue though. Like a lot of that was just total skill issues. Right now, I'm on Ob Nixilis, Captive Kingpin. I love that deck. I think it's super cool. It does kind of the grindy, janky things that I want to do in the game, and it manages to do pretty well, at least in the local meta. I took it to.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. So yeah, I'm on Ob Nixilis right now. Pretty happy with it.
Yeah, Ob Nixilis is probably the best Rakdos deck I think right now. Before it used to be like there's Max on Florian and Wounded Satellite playing Ob Nixilis as well. So it's seen some play and it's topping here and there. So it is good. I think it's just not enough people are piloting the deck and really fine tuning it, as like people would just rather take Blue Farmer Kinnan and just win games than try to fine tune a deck, and they usually leave it up to like the really good players to do that. But it is a good deck. I think it's really good. I think it has legs. I think it's a top tier deck. I do think so, and there's only going to be better red and black cards that are going to be printed to make it even more powerful.
Yeah, especially with like the last year just kind of dictating that like from here on out treasures is going to be a huge part of red. I mean, in the last few years, pretty much since Dockside has come out, like there have been cards printed since then that are just like, yeah, treasures is like
the thing. It's not going away.
The thing, it's not going away, and red does that very well. And black sacrifices, it makes inherent value off of doing things like that and using life as a resource. So, Rakdos wanting to be very explosive has those tools and tools to like kind of manipulate the game as it stands. I think a huge thing, just to add on to what you said, like about Ob Nixilis not being fine-tuned, there is like 5 primers that are floating around online, including Wounded Satellites list, and there isn't just like a definitive like this is the Ob Nixilis list. Like, and I know that several lists are like Kenrith has like 20 plus or something like that. Kenrith has a shit ton.
Kenrith has a lot. Blueform has a lot. Even Malcolm Timna has a lot. Atraxa has like 4 or 5 on the database.
But like there's Ob is sort of like that, but I feel like when you look at other primers, at least in my experience right now, like for the Kennen primer, there's that one Kennen primer that has like 14 pages. Like it's a small novel when you look at the primer. Like long ago there was a blue-green, and this is how we've capitalized it and moved on into the promised land. Ob Nixilis does not have that kind of support, unfortunately. I hope it will someday if I keep piloting it, and I probably will for a long time, but yeah, it doesn't have that right now, unfortunately. So
yeah, so let's talk about our learning curve with cEDH. How it was from the beginning to where you are now. Like, what was that curve like? Did you have anything you were struggling really bad with, and anything you struggle with like now that you think you want to work on?
So when I started playing, I was like playing Esper and borrowing my friends like blue decks and trying to do things that require a level of skill that was even beyond like basic cEDH thing. So I didn't even have like the ability to crawl when I started this format. And the hardest thing for me since the beginning is learning when to use your interaction. And I still struggle with this, like not getting tunnel visioned when something drops. Yes, that Kennen is scary. Yes, that Timna is scary. Yes, that player is going to play their Atraxa in like a turn or two. You know, maybe their board's big, but how much is that impacting your board at the moment? And staying in that pocket, like this is my pocket, and I need to use my interaction when it's going to interfere with what I'm doing, is like just a huge hurdle that when you start to make that loop, you instantly see the games get a little better for you. You don't get pub stomped. And I spent probably the first year of me playing this format just getting wrecked. Things have gotten a little better, at least in the local meta. I've taken a couple wins home on Wednesday nights, and that feels good. But yeah, that has been the biggest hurdle. And the one that would, you know, sequence that would be like, where are your windows? When are you going for it? When do you know that you can go for it, like with protection? Can you do this without protection and it will be okay? And you know, that is a lot of table reading. That is like how much interaction has been spent right now, you know, who has resources, and yeah, all those things just make cEDH really exciting.
Do you have a lot of 60 card experience?
I have some sealed experience. I played 60 card like back in Innistrad. I had like one of the sealed decks that had like Birthing Pod when it first came out, and I remember being super hyped on that. A couple of my friends had like Olivia Voldaren lists that I messed around with for a while. But I didn't have a ton of money, so all of my cards back then were, you know, either given to me or bought as birthday stuff. And when I was about, I want to say 14 or 15, the Commander stuff had started to come out. There was like the Mimeoplasm and
Riku, all those early decks, Alora.
And I instantly was like, okay, you telling me we can go to the card shop and we can build super cool decks for like $15, and that was just it for me, because like I was broke as a kid. You know, my mom didn't have money. Like, but when that format came out, the card shop in Fresno, and it's Collector's Paradise. It's still here. They don't have like nickel rares like they used to, but I don't think most places have nickel rares anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, we would go there and like we'd bring $15-20 and we'd walk out with like 2 decks of just like random crap, and like that was it for me. So Commander has really just been at like the forefront of my Magic experience.
Yeah, I think 60 card format helped me out learn, really get good at the game, because it lets you see things very strategically, and especially because I played very competitively in Standard, and I was up to date with like the format, the meta, and playing the decks at the time, like Mono Black Devotion, Dorian Theros, playing like, you know, Esper, God, what was his name already? In Innistrad, the little bug guy. Why am I Delver Secrets? I'm blanking on his name.
Delver Secrets.
I was playing Esper Delver, and it was just, yeah, like, oh my god, like I was like on top of the meta, and I think that helps me really get better at cEDH a little bit faster. But it was a hard learning curve of like you going from a 1v1 aspect, and you're making plays for that, but now you got to make plays that capitalize even better, because there's 3 turns that you have to make it and stay alive through, and that's like a really tough thing for, I think, for people when they move from 60 cards to 100, especially competitive cEDH. Like they're thinking about their game plan and their thing, and then they get there and they're like, oh, there's fucking and politics involved, because that's not a thing in 1v1s. Like, I think that politic was like really hard for me as well, because it's not something I ever had to do. But playing stacks really for like I was playing on hard mode. Like stacks was not good back then. Even like during the whole turbo meta, like it still wasn't that good. And I had to learn how to table talk and convince people like, hey, unless you're winning this turn, don't remove the rule of law because that means the other two people have their turns without a rule of law. So either do it at instant speed or win on this spot. But I've had a rule of law since like turn 3, and everyone has been discarding the hand size. We haven't seen a single counter spell, so you're probably not gonna win anyway. So don't even try it. Yeah, until you're for sure gonna win and get through 3 hands of interaction.
Getting through a single hand of interaction is hard enough.
So that's pretty good. Yeah. So it's weird how what we've done got basically to the same spot. At least it's pretty good. I like hearing that of people's different journey to get there. And I think people who don't have any 60 card format that just play casual and go straight to C, I think they struggle a little bit more to get into this format and stay in it.
Yeah, it's definitely daunting if you don't have like any like sealed or draft or like competitive backing in Commander. And there's nothing wrong with casual Commander. I still play it, you know, when I'm chilling with my homies or just trying to introduce new people to the game. I have tons of friends that like are like, "What's Magic?" And I'm like, "Let me bust out like Volo and a couple of precons, and I'll show you what's up." And it's a fun experience. And then finding cEDH is just like a great way to increase your skills, to find out where you're at versus other players, to learn the rules a little bit better, like so that when you want to show your friends, like, hey, I want to show you how to play Magic, and having that extra level of experience just makes it so that you can explain those basic rules better and not like stumble over yourself when you're hanging out with your casual friends, which is just awesome. I have nothing but great things to say about this format.
Oh yeah, it's currently having its little rocky moments at the moment, but I think it's gonna stick around. Eventually, it was gonna have things don't stay great forever. Like there's always gonna be some rough patches and some kind of stuff that happens. But it's a strong format, even with like how small it is. I mean, look at all the stuff happening in the Midwest. Like it's super strong over there. In the West Coast over here, it's struggling with its population. But I mean, we just sold out Fishbowl 3. That was great. So I mean, it's still here. It's just like I don't know. It's just there's I think it's just a lot of people that are going from casual to C and just getting demoralized by losing to plays from other people, making terrible plays, getting out table talked. Like it's a rough format. It's very competitive, and these are skills that people need to learn. Some people either don't want to learn, neglect to learn, or just concepts that it's really hard for some people to grasp. And people just gotta know also, like, in a 1v1, it's a 50% chance to win. In a 4 pod, it's a 25% chance to win. But then seed order changes that drastically. So the math is like you're gonna lose a lot of games. Like you're not gonna win a lot. Like that's just part of the math. Like just the math alone, you're gonna lose a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky in this format because there's 3 other players at the table. Like having a 25% win rate is honestly phenomenal. Yeah. And it's hard making the move into something that, because when you're playing casual, you're not really focused on winning. And if you are, you're probably in the wrong format and should go do like standard or limited. But it's hard going from that like very fun, like let's just all do our thing and someone's going to win, but that's okay because we'll play another one after this, into like this, like we're all here to win. We're all sitting at this table. We all have like the desire and the want and the drive. And if you slip up, then I'm going to capitalize on it. And if I slip up, then someone else is going to capitalize on it. So it's hard going from that casual place to a competitive circle, and then acknowledging that, oh yeah, 1 out of 4 games, like hopefully I win, and that is still an amazing margin. So just wrapping your head around that's very hard too.
Oh yeah. So with that in mind, let's get into your first CDH tournament. So it was last weekend, and it was Fishbowl 3, and
Fishbowl 3.
Yeah, so let's start with you. Overall, how were you feeling leading up to the tournament on that drive there?
On the drive there, I've been playing this list for a hot minute. On the drive there, and the night before, I was like, okay, I know this list very well. I know what to do in this list. One thing I probably shouldn't have done, like in retrospect, is switch out 4 cards the night before a huge tournament. Because I was like, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm just going to optimize it real quick. Like, I don't know what my thought process was.
It was you second guessing yourself and your list. That's what it was.
It was, dude. And you know, I made those changes and I suffered because of it. And I'm just looking back, was like, you know, I probably should have just stuck to my original list.
Yeah.
Because when those new cards come up, you're just like, I don't know how to use these. It was like sitting in front of a starship where you're like, oh, that's kind of new. What's this button do? And I suffered the consequences. I fucked around and found out.
So, what was your record overall?
So my record overall was 0-3-1, which honestly, I feel like pulling off that draw was so great at my first tournament. And you know, you win, you lose, and that's just the margin of things. However, what you take away from those games is super important. And there was only one match of the day where I was like, that was just total bullshit, you know, like, and that happens. That happens in anything competitive you do in life. There'll be that one time where you're like, yeah, that was super lame. But the rest of the times, I lost, and I learned something very valuable, or like I had a great experience and was like, okay, here's some things that I can do better next time, and here is this whole realm of things that I didn't understand before. So I just think overall, great experience. My record, not so great, but I did get a draw, and I forced that draw. So that felt super good.
What was your how surprised were you with the meta compared to our local meta?
So we live in the Central Valley, and I learned that the Central Valley of California is full of really great players. And you, like, kind of the whole thing, you don't know how good you have it till you kind of go to the other side of the fence. But we really do. Really, here in the Central Valley, we have so many great players. And so many decorated players, too. We got you, we got Brian, we got Nico.
I'm only recently decorated. I've been running it down on Mono White for a long time, so...
But, you know, you still have a couple notches on your belt, man.
Sure, I have a lot of local wins, but, you know, on the broader scale, like, it wasn't until Blue Farm that my actually showing, like, results, so... But yeah, sure. I appreciate it.
So, the player quality here in Fresno is great. And what I mean by that is there was, I mean, in fact, most of my games, times when something happened, and mind you, this is my first, like, I'm driving out of town to go to a tournament. So there was many times at Fishbowl 3 where I was like at a table and I was like, hey, don't do this. Or like, hey, pay attention to that player. And, you know, no one listened to me. And that's partly my fault. That's partly like, hey, I need to table talk better. I need to, like, make sure that person understands, like, hey, don't play 15 cards into the fish.
Oh.
Just don't do it. You know, make sure the guy that sits down at my table and says, I've never played cEDH before, like, I need to make sure he knows, like, hey, this card is Mystic Remora, and don't do anything. I know you're Crypt, but just don't do anything. Just wait, and then do your stuff. But if you do stuff now, we're gonna lose. You know, there was a time when I was sitting in a 4-pod, and the Tavesh Kron player was policing me and a Slicer player super hard, and just letting this Tivit player go with it. The Tivit player cast this black X spell that let him rip cards from the top of my library. And I'm playing Ob Nixilis, and he cast this, and the Tavesh Kron player's like, yeah, you can do that. And I was like, you have interaction. He's like, yeah, but I'm gonna save it. And I was like, I run like 18 rocks in this list. And he's like, nah, you run a bunch of stuff that's only good in Ob Nixilis. In my Ob Nixilis list, there are 6 cards that are specific to Ob Nixilis, and the rest of it is just straight Rakdos gas. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. I was like, because I don't know if he's gonna do this. And the Tivit player took it. He flipped a Mana Crypt. He flipped a Mox Amber, my Bowmasters, and Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and it felt bad. And he hard cast a Hullbreaker Horror on the Tavesh Kron player's turn, and we lost.
Yikes.
So yeah.
Those are part of the hard lessons where someone just throws a game.
Someone just throws a game, and you need to be able to coach the players that you are playing with, to work collaboratively with them, and then to beat them. And that is just a mind-numbing amount of tasks in a game. But it's brilliant, and I love it. It's super cool.
Real quick, you want to turn me down? I'm getting a lot of echo coming from you, from my voice.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you got like speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting a lot of echo and.
How's that?
I don't hear myself, so that's good.
Boom.
Okay.
For the next set, I'll try to wear my headset.
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
I have like a headset and a mic that I use to like record music stuff, so I'll have that set up. It's in the office space right now. My roommate has like people watching movies over, so I just didn't want to like
you're good.
go in there. I'll make sure it's up for the next session though.
Okay, moving on.
What about you, my friend? What was your fishbowl experience like?
Oh, my fishbowl experience has been the worst experience I've ever had in a tournament, at least like gameplay wise. I think worst overall like tournament where it was like just terrible was like a chaos tournament, but that's everyone's got a terrible chaos their experience. But like gameplay wise, like myself, performance wise, worst performance I've had for sure. Even on Mono, why I've never had such a bad performance. Man, like for game 1, I'm going 4th. It's Blue Farm, I am, Rockside, me, Mulligan down to 4, and then Rockside just has Adnos his turn 3, just wins, and I can't fight back. The Blue Farm player in front of me, known sandbagger, known greedy guy from this local area, so I knew he just wasn't gonna do it because he thinks that he's gonna try to bully me into do it, but I'm just looking at my hand like, we're gonna lose, but okay. So we just lost that one. Go to game 2. I mean, I think it was, oh man, I'm already forgetting, but overall, everything that could go wrong in every game for me went wrong. Like Mulligan down to 4, like in 2 games. I'm in like seat 3 or 4. Finally get to like a seat 2 position, and it's like it's looking like an actual game, casting Timna, from drawing cards, doing stuff. We finally get to a turn where someone's trying to Ob Nixilis player's trying to win, but I have a Bowmaster and there's like 2 draw engines out, and I'm like, bro, it's a fish out. I got, Bowmaster. You're at like 15. You're not gonna get there. Like, you're gonna have to cast at least 4 non-creature spells. That's gonna be like 4 counter spells on us. You're gonna probably show 2 counter spells. Like, you have only pain lands right now. Like, you're not gonna get through this. Please don't go for it. And sure enough, he tries to go for it, and then we just kill him on the stack. Or we get him up to 1 health, and he can't go for it anymore. He stops. So I'm like, dude, like, what? He's like, don't go for him. Like, guy, come on. So it goes to my turn, and don't do much of anything. I do some spells, trigger fish, and then pinging one person, and then Ob's flipping, and he just flips into more win conditions. I'm like, okay, bro, I wanted to leave you at 1 HP to hopefully help me out with these two players, or at least there was like a Dargo Thrasios player, and he was like sitting on like the same 5 cards for a while now, so I'm like super concerned. Hidden is like not doing anything, and later he shows me his hand, and it's just like all the big flip creatures. So I'm like, oh well, that's not good. And so I have to kill Ob Nicholas. I'm like, okay, I gotta kill you, bro. You're showing 2 win conditions in the exile zone. It was like, oh man, Klaus Curio, he had a Dockside, and then I forgot what else he had. But I'm like, yeah, it's 2 win conditions in it, so I have to kill him. And we finally get to the Dargo Thrasios player. He starts casting stuff. We're drawing cards, and I think it was like Ristic Study, whatever. I draw like 21 cards in the course of like that turn cycle, and then up to that turn. Not a single interaction, not a single counterspell, not a single anything. I was like, the math is not there. Like previously in the turn cycle, I drew 3 off Tymna, 3 lands. Another cycle, I drew 2 off Tymna, 2 lands. Another cycle, I drew 3 off Tymna. Soul Ring, Talisman, Dark Ritual. My entire hand at one point was just nothing but lands and rocks and nothing else. And that was like so demoralizing. I'm like, I have never had this much bad luck. Even playing mono white, like I at least had some things to do, or people just had the interaction to get rid of the stacks pieces, and it's like, okay, sure, you found it, you had it, whatever. I at least did my game plan. I at least was in this game and participated. And this one, I just like sat there and just drew cards and did absolutely nothing. The guy just wins. So I was like 0-3 at that point. I'm like, I want to drop, and that's when you drew, and you wanted to continue playing. So I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, fuck it. Then go into my last game, and I'm second seat, so I'm like, okay, this should be fine. I have Thunder Chad, Mono Red Dragon going first, me, Sisse, and another blue farm. And I'm looking at my hand, I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. It's a little slow, but we got a fairly slowish mid-range heavy deck. Maybe blue farm is a little bit more turbo-y, but this hand overall is great. I have like, what was it, Dockside, Intuition, man, what was it? LED, so I'm like, I have turn 3 win attempt, maybe even sooner if everyone plays a lot of rocks. Farmer Chad doesn't really do anything turn 1. I don't really do much turn 1. Just say plays a Esper Sentinel, and then Blue Farm plays Draenith turn 1. So everyone's like, oh, I'm looking at my hand like, oh, okay, well, this hand doesn't do anything, and I don't have any draw. My draws are in the command zone, I can't cast them, so this is terrible. So we go through a good amount of rounds of turns just not doing anything. And Blue Farm's stuck on land, and we're all just staring at this Draenith, drawing cards, looking for removal, and there's like nothing going on. Finally, we get to a point where I have an opposition agent, and I really wanted to save it for Sisse, and
let's go.
I'm just like, I have to get rid of this Draenith because I can try for a win attempt, and I can't even do that with this guy out, so I'm like, fuck it. He attacks me with Draenith to get triggers with Tymna, and I flash it in just to block the Draenith because I'm like, oh, I gotta get into this game, and I can't sit here letting this blue form just keep drawing off Tymna, and he just had Tymna Draenith out, so I'm like, I have to do something. So then we go into a huge battle of fighting over this Draenith. This guy is doing everything in his power to keep this Draenith alive, and he's like trying to bounce it. Thunder Chad is interaction like Red Blast, hard casting, deflecting swat, Sisse doing stuff. Before that, in response to me casting opposition agent, Sisse vampiric tutors to put something on top. So I'm like, fuck, they're getting removal, and so they get the removal, put it on top, and we continue going on this. And I'm just like, with this guy, like, dude, why are you fighting for this so hard? Since they just tutored a removal, there's no thing. And he's like, I gotta draw cards. I'm like, bro, there's a Sisse that just removal. You're not drawing this one card. You're still drawing a card. Just let it go. And he just dumped his like almost entire hands. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Goes to Thunder Chad's turn, does nothing. Well, its opposition agent gets bounced. Draenith stays alive, and he draws one card off Tymna anyways, because he waited till I blocked the Draenith to interact with it. Which is like, if you wanted the cards, why didn't you do it before I declared blocks then? So anyways, Thunder Chad doesn't do anything because he's locked out. Goes to the end step, and I'm like, I have to use this fucking intuition. Like, I can't hold on to it. I just gotta cast it. Intuition, targeting Thunderchad, get Toxic Deluge, and I think it was Breach and Brain Freeze. Or no, Savines. Breach and Savines. Like, I have to fucking do it. Cast it, whatever. He gives me the Deluge. Go to my turn. Cast Deluge. And I'm like, I don't have mana for the opposition agent. I don't remember. I probably did, but I wouldn't have cast it anyways. Just to, teach this blue farm player a lesson. So I'm like, whatever. Toxic Deluge. He shows another piece of interaction. I'm just like, oh god, dude, you're not saving it for like what he has. I'm like, oh my god. Okay, whatever. Gets countered. Pass a turn. Sisay draws for turn. Draws his interaction. 3 fairy. We all look at blue farm. He just like, I use everything. Pass. Bounces Janet. The wins on the spot. I'm like, what is happening? I couldn't believe the tournament results for me. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, and I don't know what more I could have done other than mulligan to 3 all those games, or like I'm not expecting really like a blue farm player to turn 1 Dragonith. Like I mulligan down to like 4 every single game, so I'm like, I have a winnable turn 3 7. Like I'm too paranoid. I have to keep this hand, and it was really gas. But no one played any rocks for the dock sided, and I didn't find the red mana for it anyways. And I was just, oh my god, it was a terrible game. It was awful. Awful games all around. Worst performance. Super bummed out. Oh my god, I couldn't believe it.
Great day at the beach after that, though. Like, getting some getting some good ramen. I said ice cream. We skipped on the ice cream.
We did, yeah.
Coffee, saw the beach. It was pretty nice.
The ramen was fucking mid, bro. I've had way better ramen.
Dude, I thought it was so good.
Because you were hungry. It was not.
I was hungry.
It was super mid. I was pretty bummed out. But the gyoza we got and the chicken appetizers.
Yeah.
Oh, those were good. That was good.
Those were good.
Yeah.
That was so good. Back on the Magic topic, because we don't want to stray from that too much, at least on the first episode. Can Blue Farm mull down to 3? Like, I know that, like, Rogsai can do that, and Ob Nixilis maybe can do that. His safe zone is, like, 4. Getting down to 3 is, like,
Blue
but
Farm,
can Blue Farm do that, too?
it has the options to do so, but it's more of, like, are you gonna get those options? Because you can land, Crypt, Ristic Study, you're good. Land, Crypt, Fish, you're gonna keep Fish around for a good time, so also good. Land, Dockside if people play rocks and you just Tim Necrom and start drawing. Like, it's there, but it's like, you don't want to risk it. You want to go, like, you can look at it like, 4, and then, or go down to like a terrible 3, and then like you're for sure out of the game. So like, I don't know. Some people have go mulligan down to 3. I have, like, locally, I've mulligan down to 3, and it's never worked out for me. But like, I don't have the best luck. So maybe that's just me. But like, I definitely don't. Like, I'll definitely mulligan down to 3 in like Malcolm Timna when I was playing that before I went to Blue Farm, and that was, I can deal that because I can like land. If I rip another land, it's Malcolm, and then next is Timna, and then I can start, getting back into the game. And most people will probably leave me alone because they'll see me like, yeah, he's hellbent, he's getting his commanders out, we got time to do stuff, advance our board state, and not worry about him. So usually people will just leave me alone, or I mean, I would too as well. Like, I wouldn't bother trying to, but no, yeah, man, I didn't even get like a lot of usual Blue Farm hate, but probably because I just mulliganed down to 4 and was like doing nothing. But even when I was doing some stuff, I managed to like dodge a little bit of it, but still, like, it was just, those games were really bad. Like, they were just not good. I don't know. I mean, I maybe could have done a little bit more table talking to try to get people not to do stuff, but I mean, I feel like I did a lot. Like, I convinced the Dargo Thrasios player like not to go for a win attempt when he easily could have, and just because I wanted to have Ob, because I was pretty sure he was gonna do it anyways, even though we had this Bowmaster on, he was gonna die. I still would rather have him done it to get this other guy's interaction out of his hand. But he still, he did it anyways, which kind of sucked when we got the interaction out of him. And we went, yeah, even on his, when Dargo Thrasios went for his win attempt on his turn, he had like no interaction. Like, he spent it all on us stopping it, and he just like I just didn't draw anything, and he just played his cards and won without any kind of backup, just because I drew nothing. So that was awful. Even more so, I was like more mad when I found out afterwards. But yeah, for me, it was terrible. I was so bummed out. I mean, the beach definitely helped calm me down and make me feel a little bit more better. But it was still, man, I have never scrubbed out that bad in a tournament before. I don't even think I don't know if I've ever went 0-4 on mono white in a tournament. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds rough. I think overall it wasn't as bad. I think as it could have gone. Like, we could have all just, I don't know, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I'm trying to be a silver linings kind of guy, but it was pretty bad. And maybe it's just a player quality thing when I was talking about earlier, where, like, you know, we're accustomed here in the Central Valley that everyone's going to, when you sit down at a table, like, do their thing. They're gonna do their role, and you don't have to worry about it too much. And that was just a good refresher that you know, our friend Nico, we told him what happened, like, because we did bad. And spoiler alert, I don't know if Zach's gonna jump in on this at some point. He's another guy that's gonna be on here. He didn't do that well either.
Well, for him though, he when he was talking about it, he was saying that it was just mainly the wrong decisions, and he did punt. But I mean, that's, you know, at least he knows where he did wrong. And for me, it's just like, I don't know, shuffle better, just draw a good 7, mulligan down to 3. Not sure.
When you do punt, when you do mess up, right, is table talking, is that, like, coaching the table and, like, you know, doing those whole personal political moves, is that a saving grace? Or when you punt, is it just like whatever? I think that, like, if you play your cards right and you're good at smooth talking the table, or at least directing it in a way that's like, okay, everyone needs to be on top of their game right now so we can keep playing. Maybe you recover from that. Maybe not if you're playing Roxanne. Zach also plays Roxanne. That's, like, you know, one of the most hated decks.
You can. It's definitely something that's possible, but, like, you know, when you're just so low in cards, like, you can't even contribute to, like, someone trying to win. Like, you're just, like, out of the game. Like, I would punting, like, yeah, you could. There's one punt I did in another tournament, and that definitely cost me the game. Like, I didn't, like, man, it was really bad. Like, I attacked with the full board with Delny out that I copied from somebody, and I forgot to cast Tymna first. Like, I don't even know how I don't really punt that bad. Like, you know, I make minor punts, but, like, that's, like, the worst punt I've ever made ever. And I was just like, what am I thinking? What happened? Why did I think Tymna was already out? I was like, what the fuck? It was super bad. It was, yeah, that definitely cost me the game because I didn't have, like, no interaction, and I needed to draw those 6 cards from the Delny trigger on the Tymna to, like, stay on top of it. But, like, yeah, there was, like, 2 other people. They were, like, not good at all. So it was just me, and it was basically a 1v1 with me and this other blue farm player. But, like, he had, like, early Tymna out. He managed to find, like, early rocks. But yeah, like, oh, I don't know. Like, I did a lot of winning, and now I think I'm in my, like, straight losing phase, or, like, the math for the losing, because boy, am I losing, like, convincingly. I'm not even, like, fighting in most of these games. Like, even locally, it didn't go well last Wednesday, but I posted on the Discord. I got blown out 2 games in a row by a Blood Moon effect. Like, we had Winota play Magus, no counterspell, nothing, and there was, like, already an Oppo out, a Dranith out, and a Manglehorn out. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm just out of this game. And they were still, like, attacking me, trying to kill me. And I'm like, dude, I can't cast spells. Like, what are you guys worried about? Like, even if I draw my removal, it's not red. I have Swords, which is white, and I can't cast it. I got Deluge, which is not red, but whatever. So I was like, whatever. That was, like, super blown out. Couldn't do anything. Oh well. So, next game, God, who was it? It was Matol, and he played just straight up Blood Moon, and I didn't have the counter for it. I'm like, what's happening? And again, just stuck. And I'm like, I can't cast anything. Passing the turn, doing nothing. And I just died. But yeah, I'm like losing. I'm losing a lot right now, and it's super weird. Like I'm not even getting a win off anywhere. It's really bad.
Yeah, I mean, getting into it, losing seasons like that happens, and like we have that just high quality play. Matol is a savage Magda player. Like that guy is so good, and I hope he makes it out to more tournaments in the future outside the Valley, because I know that if he gets out there, he's gonna shake things up. But,
yeah, his job is just so intensive, so time consuming, which sucks. But honestly, yeah, I'm pretty sure Matol will do pretty well at a tournament. I mean, his table talk's not that great, but I think you don't really learn your table talk until you go to a tournament and figure out like, oh, this is what I need to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he has that like cool poker, smooth operator. Like, I'm gonna be kind of quiet and do my thing.
I don't think that works very well in, Commander and cEDH, especially if you're playing something like it's kind of scary as Magda. That's like, yeah, for sure, 60 card like kind of attitude to have, but like I don't know. I don't think that's gonna do very well in a tournament in a 4-player. I think you need to be a little bit more vocal. Otherwise, people are gonna be like suspect that you're not doing anything. And yeah, I think besides that, like just his gameplay and his knowledge of the deck and lines, like he for sure, like he had me locked down on a line. Like I found like a small window to get out of like a Blood Moon effect, or at least like do stuff through it. And he like still got out like the dragon that can ping. I was like, oh shit, yeah, you still got me down. Like I had to use this really shitty ad, and I was just to find like removal, and like it was a value Nas basically, and only went like 6 cards deep because I was so low. But yeah, he knows his list. He knows Magda. I definitely want to see him at a tournament, because I'm sure he'll top 16 at least.
So I think that brings us on to our next subject. You put the next bulletin as tournament grinder ?
Yeah.
What does that mean for you?
Or
is
me,
that for me?
I am for sure. For sure, I'm gonna be grinding out tournaments now that I'm taking it a little bit more serious and playing an actual cEDH deck and not fucking around on mono white. I'm definitely gonna. I mean, I've been going to like anything available, whether it's locally or within the state. Like I'm looking at Reno for the Spring Bash, I think it was called, or whatever. And some other ones in like Texas maybe. Like I'm definitely trying to grind some out. I'd love to go to the ones out in the Midwest, but they're just way too fucking far. Like there's definitely can't not drive there. Really expensive to try to fly there. Like it's just not financially feasible to like try to attend those, which really sucks because all the big ones are happening in the West. Nothing's really happening over here. Like really our only cEDH is like the random tournaments in LA, the locals, and like the online events, which right now it's just chaos.
Yeah, I mean chaos. It has a dual meaning right there, right? Like chaos, the tournament organizer, and then like everything else is in chaos.
Yeah. But
yeah,
what about you? Are you tournament grinder now?
So I would love to grind some tournaments this year. I am about it. I do have a job, and I do have a girlfriend. But outside of that, I'm mega down, Yeah, so I'll see you guys this year at some tournaments. I'm gonna make it out to the one at the end of this month that's in Sacramento.
It's just a minor local one, but yeah.
It's a minor local one, yeah. I'm not sure about any big one after that. I know that I'm gonna go to Silicon Dynasty 3, right?
I already forgot the number. But yeah,
whatever.
I'm sure they're gonna have Silicon Dynasty again. I'll be surprised if they don't.
Yeah. That one. That's what I'm gonna go to. And I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled.
Actually, I don't know if they're gonna do it. I'm pretty sure the people that ran Mox Masters Eminence, I think they're the ones that did Silicon Dynasty, I think. Ooh.
To be determined.
Right.
To be determined. I will be at some of the big tournaments this year. I'm gonna try my best to make it out. Ideally, I want to shoot for like one a month. You know, I feel like that's reasonable. I feel like my wallet can handle that, and I feel like that'd be good just for my play. So that's the goal right now. That might be like bendable. Like my anniversary is in May. Other than that, like I don't really have anything until like I go to Magic Con every year. So hopefully like
They have CDH there, but it's not proxy friendly, unfortunately. But they do have
I mean
CDH tournaments.
the free play that they have at cEDH is totally proxy friendly. And so that's cool. I brought Nicholas out last year. I had a great time. I got to shake hands with like Dylan Cam from Playing the Power, and like
Play to win.
I got to meet Canadian. Play to win. Jesus Christ. Can we edit that? I am so sorry, you guys. I am so embarrassed. I'm just gonna jump off this.
It's okay. They don't even. They're not even gonna watch this, so it's fine.
Okay, that's fine. Cool. Yeah. So I met Dylan and Cam from Play to Win, and I met Ian, comedian, Mind Sculptors. I met Lewis Stardust. I got to meet just a bunch of like the Magic personalities. That was super cool for me to nerd out, and I got to meet like some of my favorite artists. I had like Wizard of Barge sign a couple like proxy stuff that or a couple Goblin stuff that I had from him. I got a mat from him that I signed for it. I got Mark Poole. Anyways, that whole Magic experience, I'm there every year, so I'll be there this summer. And yeah, I'll be back to reel it in, Dylan. I'll be back in the cEDH tournaments, ideally one a month, you know, pending.
There's one this weekend in SAC.
This weekend?
This Saturday. Cash prize.
Ooh,
First place is
maybe
40% of the prize pool.
How much?
40% of the prize pool.
That's pretty hot. That's pretty hot. Let me get back to you on that. I do have to check with my lady and make sure I don't have anything else, but maybe. It's a strong possibly for me.
Sick. All right, well, just let me know by tomorrow. Well, I think that's all we have for the first ever Crypt Choir podcast. Unless you have anything else real quick at the end we want to talk about. I think that's all we planned for.
That's all we planned for today. Thank you guys so much for listening and checking us out. Those of you who did. Next week, hopefully, we'll be going over some more stuff. If there's something you guys like to hear, if we said something you didn't like, if we said something you really did like, hit us up on the social media platforms, Twitter. Drop a comment on this video. Hopefully, we'll get this uploaded to Spotify, like your podcast listening format soon. So yeah, just tell us how we did. Tell us how good it was or how bad it was. Tell us what you'd like us to go over in the future, and thank you for tuning in.
Yep, that's it. All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.